Hey guys, we're back again. I'm back again, talking about Their Eyes Were Watching God, and talking about specifically this, reviewing what you did last week to prepare us for reading the book this week. So, the first thing I want to talk about is really the town of Eatonville. Well, I know I spent a lot of time on that last week, and that's for good reason because it is where our story takes place, but it also had such an enormous impact on Zora Neale Hurston. So I want to go back through some of the questions I asked you and just talk about them a little bit with you. And so I'll go in order. I'm going to read the questions and then I'll open up the document of the story that you read, and then we'll talk about it from there. So one of the things I asked you, I'm going to make this a little smaller, was just about what qualities do you think made or make Eatonville special? Would you like living in a community like that? And how is that community similar? Or how is your community similar or different to Eatonville? Well, definitely one of the qualities that makes Eatonville so special is that it was one founded by freed slaves and was an all-black, self-sufficient community, and that just had an enormous impact on Zora Neale Hurston. Which she talks about in her story, how it feels to be colored meat. Um, she talks about first about, really how growing up in that town up until the age of 13, she never knew of being different than anybody else, which seemed to have given her an enormous amount of confidence and really a stabilizing foundation for her for the rest of her life. Um, she talks about the day that she became colored, which is the term they used back then, was the day, was on her 13th birthday, where she was sent uh, to Jacksonville, Florida, where there were whites in the town too. And that's when she said, she started to feel different. In Eatonville, it's not like they never saw white people. White people came through the town, and some of the townspeople, like they would, run and hide, and just only peer out through their curtains when whites rode through, but not Zora. Zora was, the product of, like I said, this all black community, and she didn't feel that she was any different, even if she looked different. And she interacted with those who came through, the tourists, and she had pretty positive experiences with them. They chatted, and she sang little songs, and they gave her, change for her little songs and things she did. She was a cute, little girl, and so she didn't quite understand, I think, why people would be afraid. But then her 13th birthday, when she's 13, she ends up going to Jacksonville. One thing, just in paragraph 3 here, she talks about how people would sit on the front porch as like a gallery viewing of, who was coming to and from the town, and that's where she would sit and watch people and not be afraid. Just like in our story that we're going to read, people always sit on their front porches watching everybody go through the town. She said in paragraph 5, but changes came in the family when I was 13 and I was sent to school in Jacksonville. I left Eatonville, the town of the Oleanders, Zora. When I disembarked from the riverboat at Jacksonville, she was no more. It seemed that I had suffered a sea change. I was not Zora of Orange County anymore. I was now a little colored girl. I found it out in certain ways. In my heart as well as in the mirror, I became a fast brown, warranted not to rub nor run. So she found that she had to restrain herself when she went to live in a town that was, of mixed race. But she says, in paragraph 6, but I'm not tragically colored. So she doesn't feel any sorrow or depression or anything, or feel like she's less than anybody else for, being black. She feels like, she likes who she is. She takes pride in who she is. She's not ashamed of who she is. She talks about this more specifically when she talks about when she goes to college as well. How she is who she is, and even if there are a lot of whites around her. She's like a rock, and the tide just ebbs and flows over her, but never changes who she is. But as we talked before, Zora, this idea that she had of like, well, hey, she's Black and she's proud, and she seems to attribute a lot of that from coming from an all Black town, and that she seems to see desegregation as something that takes away Black pride, which is others at the time, other Black theorists and artists and scholars during her time period, many of whom thought that segregation was the way to moving forward. Desegregation, and she didn't seem to think that. I think she attributes the fact that she grew up in an all Black town as being what made her as strong and powerful and proud and appreciative of herself, and gave her the confidence that she had to allow her to go through this, white world and not feel changed or bitter or angry or anything, but to see the beauty that she had. And she goes through that through this whole story. It's not a long story. She even talks about, the places she feels most Black. Here's that paragraph 10, where she says, at Barnard College, besides the waters of the Hudson, I feel my race. Among the 1,000 white persons, I am a dark rock surged upon and overswept, but through it all I remain myself. When covered by the waters, the white waters, I am, and the ebb but reveals me again. So the ebb is when the water pulls back. So it's a kind of a beautiful metaphor for how she feels. She says sometimes she feels the most Black when she's with another white person in a group of all Blacks, like when she goes to a jazz show. And she says she can feel the music. She becomes like one with the music, and it changes her. But then she looks over at her white friend who heard the music but didn't feel it the same way she did. And in a way, she feels kind of bad for that person that they couldn't feel the music the way she did, and so she knows she's different. But different to her doesn't mean different bad. Different to her, she sees her difference as being something unique and something to be proud of, not as something to dislike herself for. So as we move into the book, we're going to be looking at our main character, Janie Crawford, and also Zora. We're going to be looking at how Zora writes, the language choices she uses. For instance, this book has a lot of dialogue that is in the Black Southern Florida dialect. So you will find it probably kind of difficult to read at first, but you will get used to it. And then she code switches back to more of an academic standard English when she's describing things in her writer's voice, and then goes back to the dialect and goes back and forth like that. And in a way, it seems to me as if this is saying, showing the beauty of the Black dialect and an appreciation for it. She didn't have to write in dialect, and people weren't doing that at the time. And a lot of people looked down at her for that because they said, oh, you're just making, the Black race look uneducated and whatever, and they don't know how to speak and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, this is the way they speak is beautiful. It's part of them. We're definitely going to see that in the first chapters of, throughout the whole book. And we're going to be, like I said, comparing Zora to Janie Crawford, they have a lot of similarities and differences, and we'll be looking at that together. The first thing that you're going to do, is you're going to answer an anticipation guide. So you're going to go through that, answer those questions, and then we're going to have you read. We'd like you to read 4 chapters this week in the PDF version that we're giving you. And you're not going to get these 4 chapters done by Wednesday. Some of you will. You have the whole week to do these activities. We just ask that you do them in the order that we ask you to do them in. So today I'm going to be giving you the PDF version of the book. I'm going to be giving you the anticipation guide and some questions for reading after you read the 4 chapters. On Wednesday, I'll be giving you a passage for analysis from the book. So that'll be another assignment to do. And, you know, obviously, like, I am not counting, I'm not giving you, taking away points for late work or all that. When I give these due dates for me, I'm putting them on there because so you can stay on track as much as possible. So you're not overwhelmed with a bunch of work to do later on. And to really get the most out of this book and kind of so all of us are staying at the same pace. We do have, you know, about 200 and something pages to get through. But it's a beautiful book and you're going to love it. And we start reading it today. So I'm going to give you the PDF version. I'm going to give you a link to the audio version if you'd like to listen to it. Enjoy, and we will talk again soon. Okay.